Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of RegAlytics, and I'm home. It was a really great vacation. Thank you very much for asking. We stayed in family campsites, and I have to say, with those thousands of children running around, we just relaxed, drank wine, played board games all day with almost no interruption. I never knew that a campsite full of children could be so relaxing. And it certainly helped that there were only 9,325 regulatory alerts. That is officially the lowest recorded alerts we've had in years. This is because last summer it was still COVID city, peak omicron, and vaccines finally coming out for the littles, etc. So enjoy the quiet, because I guarantee it, starting next week, it's the September surge. The regulator of the week is the US Department of Energy for announcing $15 billion in new grants and loans to support a transition to electric vehicles. The topic of the week is accounting. So much going on. So, 1, Treasury has proposed tax regulations for digital assets, sales, and exchanges. These rules would require brokers, including digital asset trading platforms, digital asset payment processors, and certain digital asset hosted wallets to file information returns and furnish payee statements on the dispositions of digital assets affected for customers in certain sale or exchange transactions. Translated, they're going to need to send annual statements to customers, kind of like W-2s and I-9s, to file with the IRS. 2, the federal bank regulatory agencies, which include the Fed, FDIC, and the OCC, requested comment on a proposal that would require large banks with total assets of over $100 billion or more to maintain a layer of long-term debt, which is basically the solution to what happened with SVP. Comments are due November 30th. 3, the SEC busted Citigroup Global Markets after finding out that from at least 2009 to 2019, they had no policies or procedures to estimate their indirect expenses associated with underwriting securities. And all they did was use a fixed percentage of the deal's underwriting fee. For this failure, they'll pay $2.9 million. Moving on to other fines, the SEC also found that from January 2019 to September of 2022, Wells Fargo, yes, Wells Fargo again, received off-channel communications, did not maintain or preserve these written communications, and the failure was firm-wide and involved personnel at all levels at authority. In fact, managing directors and senior supervisors responsible for supervising junior personnel themselves failed to comply with the rules. $125 million more to the SEC from Wells Fargo. Now that one makes sense to me, mostly because Wells Fargo can't seem to get it together. However, the CFTC fined Goldman Sachs $5.5 million, a minor slap on the wrist, which actually resulted in a dissent from one of the commissioners, which I happen to agree with. So get this. Goldman got in trouble in 2019 for not recording the phone lines of the sales and trading desk for 20 calendar days. That's it. In 2014, when hardware malfunctioned following a software patch. So then Goldman got a vendor to handle this for mobile devices. Well, when the pandemic hit, the mobile calls went up, obviously, because everyone was working from home, which strained the vendor and the calls were lost. Goldman discovered the issue when they were investigating reports of poor call quality from the employees who were using the recording service. An interim fix was implemented, plus Goldman started testing software from a second vendor to do the exact same thing, and Goldman discovered that the second vendor software issue, where the system sometimes failed to properly record our audio. Every step of the way, Goldman communicated with the CFTC, but they got fined on principle that they were under orders to get it right, and they didn't. The last update is from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, which is basically the U.S. government's HR department. They announced that federal agencies and federal contractors are no longer allowed to request an applicant's criminal history before they make a conditional offer of employment. This is based on the Fair Chance to Compete for Jobs Act, which was passed in 2019, and it's effective October 2nd of 2023. And that's it this week for RegAlytics. Join me every Wednesday for your dose of regulatory news.